Good afternoon, everyone. We shall start the session soon. So, very good afternoon to all our Singapore participants, and good morning or evening to all our international audience joining us via Zoom. Starburst is excited to host our inaugural Singapore Aviation Accelerator Demo Day, featuring 10 interesting and innovative startups from our accelerator program. We have a packed agenda for today, with opening by Enterprise Singapore, following with a video montage of our journey in the Singapore Aviation Accelerator. Next, we will have the pitching sessions by all our 10 startups, including a short Q&A session after each presentation. Last but not least, Francois from Starburst will share his closing remarks before we end the session today. As a reminder, the demo day will be recorded and some portions may be posted on our website and social media platforms after today's session. As a gentle reminder for our guests on site, please keep your mask on, and for the speakers, you may remove your mask when you're speaking. First, I would like to invite Julius, Director of Starburst, to share a few words.
Thank you very much. Distinguished guests that are with us in our humble office, and international audience, local audience that are signing up virtually, I welcome you all to the inaugural Singapore Aviation Accelerator Demo Day. We have a vision to make this program an innovative beacon for our local ecosystem, as well as showcasing to the rest of the world that Singapore is indeed the most innovative aviation hub. Before I start the program proper, I'd like to actually give thanks to Enterprise Singapore, Transportation and Logistics team, Chris Lab from Singapore Airlines, the innovation team from Singapore Airline Engineering Company, the Airlab team, as well as the innovation team from SETS, as well as all participating startups, our community partner AAIS, as well as mentors for the program, despite this COVID situation. I hope you find the later demo day valuable for you. I thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks, Julius. I would now like to invite Chong Ming to give his opening remarks. Mr. Long Chong Ming is currently the Executive Director, Transport and Logistics at Enterprise Singapore. In his current portfolio, Mr. Long is responsible for facilitating companies in the aviation, maritime, land transport, e-commerce supply chain, and logistics technology in capability development, innovation and transformation, local and international collaboration partnerships, and overseas ventures. Chong Ming, please.
Thank you, Shiga. Thank you, Julius. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. I recall that it was just a couple of months ago when I spoke to all of you about some of the interesting things that's happening in Singapore, especially in terms of the innovation ecosystem. So I'm really honored to be here today at your demo day, actually, as we celebrate the achievement of all of you under the inaugural batch of startups. You are the first to graduate in the Singapore Aviation Accelerator program. So a very heartiest congratulations from ESG. And of course, the same congrats goes to Starburst for reaching this key milestone. Now, I think we all know we are still in pretty much in the woods in the COVID pandemic. But again, I think we have to look at things in a very balanced way. The challenges and all due to COVID has also opened up a lot of new opportunities for us. And I think it's even more important for us now to really think about innovation and to really think about new business models and how we can transform our enterprises and uplifting the entire ecosystem as part of the overall objective. Now, I think in ESG, we have always held the belief that startups are one of the key anchors of innovation. And that's why ESG put in a lot of resources and efforts to develop and entrench the startup ecosystem in Singapore. And we strongly believe that startups can come up with very innovative solutions, and hopefully can gain commercial traction and adoption for you all to scale up and expand out of Singapore. I think we have seen many successful startups over the years that have emerged. And even in the COVID period, we have seen unicorns coming out both from Asia, in the US, and in Europe, and even in China. So I would say that although things may slow down somehow, during the COVID pandemic, but nonetheless, this upward trend of startups contributing to innovation, corporates working with startups, we do not think that this will end or slow down in the near future. So definitely we see a lot of upward pressure in that case, whereby corporates are now very motivated to work with startups. And we want to be part of that journey together with all of you. So Enterprise Singapore, we recognize that for startups and corporates and for Singapore to develop a very robust innovation and startup ecosystem, the government has to come in to do something. And that's where ESG, as part of overall efforts, supported Starburst to launch the Singapore Aviation Accelerator program here. And I want to reassure all of you that despite the COVID, the government remains committed to innovation, to supporting startups. And if you read the news or follow the developments here, you will see that over the past year, we have actually launched quite a few initiatives with regards to startup and innovation development efforts in Singapore. Singapore, we see ourselves as an innovative city. We see ourselves as having a very thriving and vibrant innovation and startup ecosystem. And I think we didn't do this alone. We had great support from global startups, great support from global corporates, as well as the ecosystems. People like the angels, the VCs, the research institutes, and so on. And many of you actually contributed to the development of Singapore as a startup and innovation hub today. And I think we can do more together. So in 2020, let me share with you some of the numbers that we got. Investors actually deployed 5.5 billion Sing dollars into more than 500 deals in Singapore. So if you look at that number, I think Singapore is the leading investment destination in Southeast Asia with respect to this startup. And we also managed to gather quite a few accolades in 2020. For example, based on the Global Innovation Index 2020, Singapore was ranked as the most innovative country in Asia. So we have close to 4,000 tech startups now in Singapore. And out of the 14 unicorns in Southeast Asia, 10 of them are actually based in Singapore. So not only that, KPMG 2020 list of top technology innovation hub, and within the top 10 cities for innovation in the APAC region, Singapore is ranked first. So I think we are not stopping there. We continue to invest heavily in our infrastructure, both digital and physical, as well as talent development. So I'm very glad to see that Starburst is also playing your part in engaging the young people in the tertiary institution. And I also hope that all of you can also be part of the effort, because that's where your future pool of talent is going to come from. All these young people that will come in to renew, rejuvenate, and refresh your gene pool. So look at our another indicator. Last year, I don't know how many of you participated in our Slingshot 2020 or Switch 2020. We had tremendous response. It was more than 95,000 participants in our Switch 2020. Okay, it was quite, in a way, staggering to us. We didn't expect so many. There was more than 1,000 exhibitors, more than 600 sessions that we did together with the ecosystem players and so on. And the competition angle, the open innovation angle of Slingshot 2020 received more than 7,500 applications from close to 160 countries. So many startups globally are very interested in Singapore and what's happening in Asia. So I think it augurs very well for our development as a startup and innovation hub. So I would like to encourage all of you in the Starburst cohort, the current and the future ones, please leverage on Singapore, leverage on our resources, our tools, and our networks to further your ambitions, to scale, to grow, to expand into the region. I mean, that's why you are here, you choose Singapore. So I think we want to encourage that. And we want to work with you closely to see how we can support you. On the corporate side, we are in discussion with many of them, and many of them are here today, whether you are Singapore Airlines, you are SATS, Inata, or Changi Airport or other of the aviation ecosystem, our discussions with them has also reinforced the fact that they are very much into rethinking their business model. They are very much in trying to develop new growth angles, whether is it in terms of business offerings to their customers, or even in terms of innovative solutions to deal with the pandemic and the post-pandemic environment. So I think there's a lot of opportunities, and we realize that many of them would like to work with all of you, to see how they can actually develop all these new capabilities by working closely and partnering the startup. And so we think that the Starburst Aviation Accelerator in Singapore will play a very important role in enabling that to happen. And we understand that during the COVID pandemic, there could be investors getting a little bit of profit or maybe getting a bit more risk averse. So to do that, I think ESG has also come out with enhanced support for founders, as well as enhanced support for some of the ecosystem players, and also coming up with programs. For example, we launched the National Innovation Challenge last year in Singapore, and a key component of that was the Trade and Connectivity Challenge, and we actually bumped up the industry track support to 2 million Sing dollars. So if you are paid as a top awardee or winner in that challenge, you can potentially enjoy up to 2 million Sing dollars funding support from the Singapore government. And I think we have received more than 140 submissions. This year, we continue to work on this. We are going to launch TCC 2021 with perhaps a few thematics, one of which will be sustainability. So I think that is a key topic that every of us are very concerned about, and a lot of us are very interested in, and many of us actually are thinking about how can we develop or pivot ourselves into that area. So this is things that I think that we can work together with you. So platforms like TCC will be very interesting areas where you can also take a look, and if it's relevant, please participate. And I think we are going to have a very interesting demo day later on. So unfortunately, I got to leave a little bit earlier, but my team will be here. And if there's anything you need to discuss with us, please feel free to approach any of us, whether physically, whether through email or so on. We are very happy to work with you. And I hope many of you through demo day will be able to realize your dreams and visions of launching commercially viable products that is scalable, and hopefully we will work with you also to scale up the adoption among our SMEs or among our corporates. Whether you are in digitalization, whether you are in sustainability or automation, I think these are key areas that Singapore hopes to see more developments, more solutioning, more innovations, and all of you are well placed to actually help us to achieve some of these long-term objectives that we want to achieve. So again, we do not see ourselves working alone, and I certainly do not want you to think that you're working alone. We are all in this together. We are all working together in a collective way. We want to embrace all this new paradigm shift that's coming out, whether it's a post-COVID world or whether it's a new normal. I mean, we all got to be confident that we are here to work together to achieve and a win-win partnership for all of us. So I hope that all of you through this demo day will gain a lot of valuable insights. There are a lot of industry experts here today. So please have a very and open and frank engagement with all of them. And I want to say that today's lineup is very impressive, and I wish all the best to all the startups, and I hope all the corporates will also do your best to support and groom the startup together with ESG. So let's have a good time this afternoon, Singapore time. So thank you very much, everybody. All the best.
We shall now move to the main agenda for today's session, which are the presentation by our startups. Each presentation will be 10 minutes, including the Q&A session. All attendees may submit your questions via the Zoom Q&A function or use the raise hand function if you prefer to speak to the startups directly. First up, we have Brazen and Miralex presenting their joint solution for SaaS use case on indoor asset tracking with no fixed infrastructure. For this problem statement, Starburst has put together two startups to provide a combined solution to get the best of both hardware and software solutions.
First of all, thanks to everyone for having me here. I'm honored, and thanks to Starburst too. And I'm going to kind of talk about the POC we did, or the problem statement we did with our sets for indoor asset tracking. So for this particular problem statement, we teamed up with Mirror Labs, as you saw in the video just now. And what I'm going to do is Gabriel is going to be making a presentation right after me as well. But I'll make a short introduction of Brazen as a company. We were founded in 2017. We have like seed and pre-series A with more than 3 million in funding. And what we do, and I'll go into detail later, is a software as a dashboard and a platform to connect like IoT, sensors and all that with AI. And this is a big picture of what we kind of do in terms of the platform that we implement. So we've got machine learning, face recognition. We've got all these like really bleeding edge technology, but from different sensors. They're all siloed. They are from different like suppliers, and they each have like issues of their own. But what we are building and what we've built is a core platform, a bus of sorts that integrates an integration platform that integrates between all these different like technologies and make it easy to for enterprises to integrate and digitalize and digitally transform their businesses and their operations. And this is a high overview of how our, I guess, AI bus kind of works. We've got IoT sensors, we've got third-party data APIs, we've got ERP systems at the top, and we ingest the data, we mix them in with some AI machine learning prediction engines, real-time data processing, and we do provide this for different use cases, for aviation, for defense and police, for instance. So to demonstrate this idea of an AI bus, what I'm going to do is show you a literal bus. So this is a bus, a police mobile command center that is equipped with face recognition, equipped with like LPR, license plate recognition, equipped with like drones and body cams and all that. So quite literally an AI bus. But using our platform, whereas like a system integrator would take like maybe like a month to integrate all the software together, the design, everything. The software for the entire bus, after the bus was outfitted, was deployed in 1 day because we've integrated all the data in together and fed it back to the command center, the actual command center at the police station. This is actually a deployment that we did in Chiang Mai. So it's a police region 5 for Thailand. So this will give you an idea of what we are doing, providing as a platform. At Mirror Labs, Gabriel is going to talk to you more about the hardware, the sensor itself. The challenge here is asset tracking in an indoor environment. Sounds quite unexciting, but there are actually a lot of challenges. You talk about wheelchairs, you talk about current indoor tracking uses like BLE technology, and in Changi Airport, huge area. Deploying beacons is just not an option. Sensors, they got power, but sensors are expensive, even more expensive than wheelchairs. So it doesn't make sense from a cost point of view. And there are other providers, large operating environment. So what we've done, we've worked together with Mirror Labs to integrate their very innovative hardware into our like AI bus platform. And we have done AI tracking in an indoor environment on our Builders web platform. So you can track all the wheelchairs across different levels with pinpoint accuracy in an indoor environment without GPS. and without BLE and without like LoRa as well. So it's that data kind of fed into our platform, and our platform then takes that data and turns it into rich, actionable information. Okay. So in terms of like how fast the wheelchair is going, for example, so if it's going too fast, somebody's taking it for a joyride, somebody should do it. The staff can find the nearest available wheelchair for the next disabled person, for instance. And using our platform, on top of that, you can scale up to integrate into like CCTV systems that are already in place, so that if a wheelchair is spotted in a zone, you can find the people through face recognition that are hanging around that wheelchair, or if a wheelchair gets stolen, use cases like that. And here are the key benefits for the three stakeholders, like ground staff crew. Very easy for them to find the wheelchairs. Asset managers, they can optimize the asset utilization, so they can find and they can like buy more wheelchairs or use more wheelchairs for other terminals if it's being underutilized. And on top of that, operations control centers, they can detect like dangers and safety alerts. And so the ROI, not only is the sensor like based on like dynamo technology, so it doesn't have to be recharged. You get service reliability improvement, efficient and productivity scalable solution, and at a fraction of the cost of the wheelchair, where normal solutions out there on or current solutions, you have to invest in sensors that are even more expensive than the asset themselves. Yep. So that's my short pitch, and I'll just hand this over to Gabriel right now as well to present his part on the sensors, which are really interesting. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Adrian. I think now we will do it live over here with a presentation by Gabriel.
Okay, thank you. I'm Merlabs, the other half of the program, together with Adrian over there. I think for us, basically, we focus a lot on being a hardware company. This is because of our experiences in this time where we did a lot of robots and drones, and pretty much a lot of IoT and sensor stuff. But I think after doing this stuff, we saw a need for hardware, custom hardware solutions in the market. And we tried a lot with working existing players in the market, it just couldn't get us what we want. And so that's what we did when we came up. Now, we focus a lot on robot technologies, but if I can give you a very good experience of what we do, the focus today is going to be on the hyperlight technologies. It's a custom communications protocol, originally meant for robots, but now what has happened in the last few months is that we see a lot of use cases for it outside of robot control. So we have done things for IoT communications and tracking is what we did with sets. We have smart building, and we're actually working with architect firms now to enable the job work. Now, without going too far on about this, basically, when we look at tracking and the use of hyperlight, the target that we are looking at here is to basically enhance operational efficiency. Now, there's a lot of tracking solutions in the market. They are nice and good, but generally, they are just anti-theft devices. But I think the question for us is, what next after anti-theft? And that question is answered by enhancing or increasing the amount of operational efficiency. And so what we have done is that we have created a custom hardware, basically a tag that tags their assets or their wheelchairs in this case, but really the tag can be used for anything else. We also have the capability for an app that the staff can install on the phone. And instead of having beacons going around, what we have is a dedicated hardware that can be mounted on vehicles, equipment, or other stuff. And as they go around, they collect information about the tags around them, and we back calculate the positions of the tag from there. Now, from there, that device, and we send the data out basically to partners like Reason or anyone in the market who go on and ingest it and do whatever they need to do about it. Now, if I can show you conceptually how it looks like, it will be something like this. Right? Very quick animation. Basically, your wheelchairs are around, and we just need the buggies to go travel around. And as they travel around, they get more information. We back calculate the wheelchairs, and we can position them pretty quickly. As you can see right here, nothing needs to be installed except for the buggies themselves. Now, specifically for sets, I think the very impressive thing they did was we went from concept. Basically, we didn't have a dynamo tag before the project started. And by week 5, we already had our first prototype out. Yes, I know it's very ugly, not very nice, but I think this kind of speed is something that is unachievable by any hardware company in Singapore. And by week 10 and week 13, we have the prototype ready deployed on wheelchairs and for testing. Now, I think that's not really the end of our work. That was a very quick thing. We wanted a demo, we got it done. But I think when we look into the future, we look at more interesting and more exotic ways of harvesting energy. We have testing energy harvesting variants right now. So there's a small engine that basically harvests energy and then shakes. And we're also looking at a solar energy version that can work with half the brightness of an average lamp like it. So I think these are very cutting edge stuff, very cool stuff that nobody else can do in the market. And that's really the gist of our message here. I think whenever we work with people, we don't focus on the one-time sale. I think that's a very old way of thinking. We focus on very long-term relationships, mainly because we're the cash users, but also we know that hard problems are not easy to solve and it takes a very long time. I also leave the message here, which is, yeah, tracking is nice, it's very old. But really, I think at some point of time, you must understand that there are limitations of off-the-shelf solutions. And maybe sometimes it's really the time to start thinking of custom stuff and work with people who can get it done. I think we're quite good between the three of us right now. We have electronics, robotics, advanced mathematics, and computer science expertise. These are stuff that you cannot find in other hardware companies. So my final message is here. We're always here to help you and work with anyone. Give us your problems and we'll come co-create a solution with you. Thank you.
Thanks, Adrian and Gabriel. I think now let's have a Q&A session. If there's any questions, maybe from our attendees over here, basically. And
one question.
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
How small is your device? I mean, now product is
right
outside. How small is the device?
Come find me later. We have a new prototype. I just sent a manufacturing order last week. We have kit. Okay, there's a prototype that's like 20 mm by 35 mm, another one that's 40 mm by 35 mm. That is literally smaller than your trace together tag. That's how small it can go. And that's not even the full power that we have here. Yeah.
I think on Zoom we also have another question. I think in the wheelchair, it's from Yogesh. In the wheelchair example, given the obstructions and the walls, how would the technology work to pinpoint the accuracy of the location of the wheelchairs? Please, you can explain.
Right. So if you're looking for signals that pass through walls, unfortunately, there's no technology in the world that can help you with that. Generally, some line of sight or some bouncing off the walls that is required. But I think what's interesting about how we do things is that we actually make use of interference. That's a proprietary tag that we work on when we're inside and when we depth, so that you see that. We don't need exact line of sight, even interference and all that. We can look for patterns within this interference and guesstimate positions for that. Again, this is not an easy task to accomplish. We need a lot of higher level mathematics and computer science to get this done.
Okay, thank you, Gabriel and Adrian as well. Next up, let's move to the next startup. Next, we have Smooth presenting their solution on enhancing passenger experience during flight disruptions, which is particularly useful for airlines during this COVID period, and as there are greater uncertainty in flight schedules. We have Benjamin from Smooth joining us today. Benjamin, please share your slides and turn on your video.
Yeah, hi everyone. So can you let me share my screen, Shayla? Yeah. Okay. So my name is Ben, co-founder and CEO of Smooth. Smooth is a software company for the airline industry created in 2019 by 4 co-founders working previously for major airlines and software companies. We are a team of 12 people based in France, and we have currently 3 customers, so Air France, Corsair, and Transavia. We've been recently listed by the travel magazine Focusrite as a startup to watch in 2021. So next month, we are also just starting a seed fundraising round. And today, we are honored to be part of the Singapore Aviation Accelerator, answering to the Sia Problem Statement, enhancing passenger experience during flight disruption. So Smooth is a tech enabler for airlines to offer the passengers personalized and customized services around ancillaries and passenger experience. From dynamic pricing of offers to the fulfillment of the order into the reservation system, until the distribution of services to passengers and sellers. So you all know about the flight disruption stuff. it costs airlines around $500 per disrupted passengers, only in care and assistance, refund or rerouting, and compensations. I'm not even talking about the soft costs. So have you ever thought that asking passengers first what they want when a flight is canceled or delayed might save you time and money? So no need to reaccommodate if your customer doesn't want to fly anymore, or suggest proactively a voucher with a bonus for next time, or just book on any available alternative to offer a great customer service. Oh, and your frontline staff will love you. At least that's the feedback we get so far. So how does it work? We offer airlines to integrate and select any travel providers of its choice within our platform and design the entire process workflow. So Smooth takes care of everything else, notify passengers in Whiteable, and automatically rebook them on the alternatives of their choice. Then the airline gets fully compliant with the regulation and can monitor the cost savings. So by enlarging the number of alternatives and letting passengers choose what they want, Smooth helps airlines save up to 30% of their costs. So what's our secret sauce now? So just because passengers will no more involuntarily change the flight, they will be now volunteers. That will change everything for your costs, of course, but also in terms of customer experience. That's where the value is. Then we apply also yield management algorithm to the cost optimization of flight disruption, as it is just supply and demand problem. And finally, we have an end-to-end automation process integrated to your reservation system, as rebooking should be just as easy as booking process. So you might now wonder, is it just a concept? So our solution is live with 2 current airlines offering to the passengers a smooth experience when a flight is disrupted. So let's have a look at how it works for an airline staff and the passenger when the flight is disrupted. So you'll be an airline staff connecting to the Smooth platform and have access to all products of Smooth. And today we're interested in the flight disruption product. So today, for example, a flight from Paris to Nice has been canceled. So your staff will select the flight information, and then the Smooth platform will collect any information about scheduling and passengers of this flight. Then your staff will select a tag on this cancellation, either it's cancellation or downgauge, save the campaign, and then the platform will retrieve all passenger information contact and send email and text to all passengers of this flight. The passenger will be redirected to a web form where he can choose either to get a voucher or just opt for a refund, or just choose a new itinerary. So my today flight has been canceled. I have another option on the evening or just the day after. So on the back end for your staff, you have all information accessible on the left with all passenger list with a PNR, and you can see that a web form has been opened for this PNR. You see on the right the alternative suggested to your customer, so the flight on the evening and the flight the day after. So thanks to Smooth, you can add even more choices by including other airline solutions or even trail operation. And now you have more possibilities for your customers. And you can even add new airport destinations. For example, Marseille, which is an airport not too far from Nice, and you can add alternative for your customer there. Then you can select which kind of alternative you want to offer to your passengers according to your commercial policy. So you can have greater choices for your passengers. Then your passenger will have access to this new alternative with even greater choice, as you can see here. And then you have the train alternative of an earlier flight. And as today I need to be as earliest as possible in Nice, I will take the earliest flight. So the platform will rebook automatically the passenger to the new flight. And you can see in live that the PNR has been processed. You have all information on the passengers, see which kind of alternative he has chosen, and all activity log for your call center. You have all important information for your passenger, for example, the bag information with a tag number when you have to reaccommodate the bag to the new flight. Then you can reaccommodate all passengers of this flight, and either they have a connecting flight or just a direct flight. Of course, for this example, it was just a manual example, but the platform will automate all the process thanks to a cost optimizer module. So you can make profile for your VIP customer or either just your non-frequent flyer and put a score on it. And also on the alternative choice you want to provide to a customer by saying if you want to either optimize the cost or the description experience of your customers. Then with this input, our machine learning algorithm will perform the automated rebooking of passengers according to their profile and the alternative possible for the disrupted flight. And of course, finally, you have access to all the monitoring of your flight description process with cost and also offers to your customer and see what works and what doesn't work. So as you can see, Smooth product regarding flight description is a great asset for airlines, reinforcing passenger experience and restoring confidence. The Smooth vision toward personalized and customized offer for passengers is even more important for the airline industry today. That's why acceleration of our vision in Asia is a logical next step. So by first having a commercial presence and also looking for a new investment partner in Singapore. That's why we are here today, virtually, of course, and we hope in the coming weeks to be physically here. So I hope you had a smooth presentation. As at Smooth, we think that everybody deserves a smooth journey. That is what we are offering Smooth solution for a smooth customer experience. Thanks.
Thanks, Benjamin. Now I'd like to open to the floor for Q&A. Is there any questions from the audience? Yeah, I think we have no questions for now, Benjamin. Meanwhile, if there's any other questions that our Zoom participants have, please do submit through the Q&A function and we'll get back to you as well. Thanks, Benjamin, for your presentation.
Yeah, thanks, Chef.
Next, we'll move to the next startup. For the next startup, we have Evitado presenting their solution to SIA Engineering's use case on safe aircraft maneuvering without modification to the aircraft or infrastructure. This solution aims to enhance safety and increase productivity of the ground staff, especially in congested and busy airports, such as our Singapore Changi Airport. For today, we have Alex from Evitado to share about his startup. Alex, please share your screen and turn on your video.
All right, all set. Hi, thanks Sheila for the introduction. I'm Alex with Evitado, and we are working together with SIA Engineering Company to create the future of aircraft pushback. This is of course done in cooperation with the Singapore Aviation Accelerator program. Evitado brings automation to low-tech assets in heavy industries. Our first use case is the pain point of ground collisions of aircraft, which cost industry and military more than €1 billion a year in damages. Our solution easily prevents these incidents, which occur 1 to 2 times a month in large operations and can cost up to €250,000 per incident. We also reduce the resources required to move an aircraft. If you combine these two value propositions, we can save a large maintenance organization up to €1.5 million a year. What we're doing specifically in this accelerator is addressing problem statement number 4 together with SIA Engineering Company, which is safe aircraft maneuvering without modification to aircraft or infrastructure, which is a perfect use case for us because our solution is exactly that, a plug-and-play solution for ground-based collision warning. It is temporarily installed and provides real-time collision warnings to the operator who's moving the asset or the aircraft in this scenario. I'd like to share a quick video that covers our first release in the field and how the product is used. This is our first product release, which we just brought to market at the end of the month, at the end of the year. It's quickly attached to the aircraft or tug surface temporarily by the operator. And then once it's powered on, it connects itself wirelessly to a user interface. This user interface is used to control the system after going through a short calibration sequence, which tells the sensor exactly where it is on the aircraft. Then the system is ready to be moved. This process of setup takes about 1.5 minutes, And like I said, the system can be attached to the air tug or to the aircraft. Once the system's ready to go, you can move, and it gives you a real-time overview of what's going on around the aircraft and prevents you from making any costly collisions. The system scans the environment using the LiDAR sensor, looking for potential collisions. The potential collisions are then communicated wirelessly to a user interface device based on the 3D collision zones we make around the aircraft. If there is a potential collision, the user interface shows this to the driver, as well as a light and siren warning on the sensor system itself. In the background, our software is running a 3D mapping algorithm, which allows us to know if the wing is going to pass over an object or if it's an actual collision risk, thus reducing the number of false positives we give and allowing our system to be used in very complex and challenging environments to move these assets. We also hope to monetize the data we collect during movements to help give back safety and operational analysis to our end users. Talking about our market, we split it into 4 segments, and despite the pandemic, our market potential remains very strong, and we've had a very good start to 2021. We split it between manufacturers, military, maintenance, and airport operators. And when we're looking at competition, we're the only sensible solution on the market. That being, we're the only 3D portable, temporarily usable LiDAR system doing collision avoidance on the market right now. And of course, we have to be better than the current process, which is very heavily human-based, human error-based. We offer our customers flexible revenue models ranging from direct hardware sales to leasing and pay per movement. And like I mentioned, we plan to use the data we collect to give reports on safety and business operations. In the project so far, we've generated around 65,000 in revenue. And this year alone, we've also had an additional 55,000 in revenue committed from a launch partner. And we hope to sign up a few more by the end of the year, generating around 200,000 for 2021, ahead of scaling the market in the following years. We've had a very strong start to our company, spending most of 2019 and 2020 in development, funded by various state and federal level grants in Germany. We won a Hamburg Innovation Award in 2019 and participated in various accelerator programs, including the German Accelerator Program in Silicon Valley, and of course, the Singapore Aviation Accelerator based in Singapore. Our founding team are 3 Americans that met each other at grad school in Hamburg. We have a range of professional engineering experiences, as well as a couple of MBAs on the team. And we've been working together full-time on the project over 2 years. In addition, we have 3 software developers that have been with us for over a year now. And we recently added a business and sales development marketing expert from the industry to help us offset our technical bias on the team, who's generated very strong customer pipeline for us. We also have a great team of advisors that help us from a range of entrepreneurial questions to industry experts that help us approach the market in the most effective way. And to conclude, I'd just like to point out we're raising a 750,000 euro seed round, and we're going to use this to explore the Singapore aviation ecosystem as a base for us in the APAC region, which has a very strong growth projected in the coming years for the aviation market. We also hope to enter the market with our first release of our system and gain around 1.5 million in revenue during this time period. Also establishing sales and distribution partnerships to help us in our next scale up phase. And of course, explore additional use cases for our technology outside of the commercial aviation industry. Thank you very much for your time. And if you're looking to enable the industrial automation revolution, please reach out to me, and we look forward to answering any of your questions.
Thanks, Alex. Now I'd like to open to the floor for any questions. I think we have an attendee who raised his hand. Daniel, do you have a question that you want to ask for Evitado? I think you can unmute yourself. Probably not for now. Do we have any other questions? If not, let's move to the next startup. Thanks.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay, I think we have a question. How
Okay.
agnostic is your solution for the different aircraft types?
Can you please repeat that?
Is the solution agnostic for different aircraft types?
Yes, that's right. So we primarily developed it for narrow body. However, it is able to be used on wide body, and really any aircraft type out there based on the sensor we're using can cover ranges up to the A380 and beyond.
Okay, thanks, Alex. Ranku, I hope Alex answered your question. If there's no further questions, let's see. Okay, I think we have one more question from Yogesh. What are some of the other use cases for your product or solution outside of aviation?
Yeah, thanks Yogesh for the question. Shout out, by the way, he's one of our mentors for the program, and he's been very helpful. Yes, we're looking into really anywhere where you're using moving large assets and you need some sort of collision avoidance. So, you know, ports come to mind with shipping industry. We have a lot of interesting ideas for construction and mining, as well as even launching yachts and stuff like that. So there's definitely some other use cases. So far, we've been very focused on aviation, but we're very open to exploring additional use cases in our upcoming phase.
Thanks, Alex. I think we have one last question. Are the pilots in the planes informed of the warnings?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Raymond. The user that is moving the aircraft is typically the tug driver. So this is when you're being pushed back at the gate, for example. And in that situation, the tug driver is in control of stopping the aircraft if there's a potential collision. So the warning is sent to them directly instead of the pilot. And otherwise, unpowered aircraft movements are also then controlled by the tug driver. So all warnings would go to them.
Okay, thanks, Alex. I think in view of time, we have to move to the next startup. For those who submitted your questions via the Q&A function, the startups can still reply via the Zoom function.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay. Next, we will have LLS from Israel presenting their solution to SIA Engineering's use case on leveraging AR and VR to enable on-the-job assistance and training for airside operational activities. The solution provides a tool for the training school to be more effective in delivering their training courses and having a safe environment for the trainees to be proficient in the maintenance procedures. Today, we have Gilad from LLS to share about his startup. Gilad, please share your screen and turn on the video.
Thank you, Sheila. Thank you, everyone. Today's session, I will talk about LLS, what we're doing briefly over here, and about the platform, the challenges we have taken, and then I'll show you what we came out with. So we are a startup company that founded a couple of years ago with a lot of experience in the 3D area, a lot of experience in augmented reality and virtual reality. We're developing 3D modeling tools to give interactivity and to give solution for service and training around the world. Our entire solution is a SaaS cloud-based platform, and including a very wide range of tools. Without going into much into details, we are a group of 5 people with a lot of experience in wide range of activities, leading a very, very young, innovative team with a passion about this area. So what are we bringing? We are bringing a suite of software tools, very effective for training on remote, especially designed for mechanical hardware products like engines, like motors, like any system that is needed over there. And we are based on 3 main technology. Digital twinning, it's a process of taking a physical model and bring it into a digital system, a virtual reality and augmented augmented reality, which eventually both of them are combined into one solution, which we are defined as mixed reality. How products looks like. So product is built out of three main elements. There is an application you can run on any device. It can be a PC, it can be Mac, it can be Android, it can be iOS, and gives you all the end user capabilities like virtual training room, a very advanced remote support room, mixed reality based training and support, all these running on the tip of your fingers, either by PC or any mobile device, does not require any special equipment. On the back side of our solution, we have the web application that acts as the full web, full administration tool, a very intuitive visual graphical editor for creating any procedures and tutorial without the need of even one line of code. Full roles and task management of everyone as part of this, participate in this project, so you know exactly who does what and when, and each permission for everyone that is around, and full analytics. Everything is recorded, everything is analyzed in real time, so you know exactly what happened, and you are able to on the fly analyze the results. And in the center of everything is the digital twin model, the one that gives you the ability to really create and perform the full results to give the full outcome of all these goodies. All this is a one platform. So we came, and the challenge we have taken is to address Singapore Airlines engineering company requirements for enhanced training solution with digital twin recreation to train complex procedures. No doubt today training is a challenge. Moving the knowledge from the knowledge centers to the end users is always a challenge. And in today's way of learning, PDFs is not efficient anymore. You need to come and get to a full interactive solution to help people to learn faster and get the knowledge in much easier way. What we have achieved a full digital twin mockup, all this in a very, very short time of couple of weeks, a full digital twin mockup that shows exactly, resembles exactly what is the engines looks like. And we have also created a procedure that I'm going to show you a quick video of it. This procedure is a fully interactive procedure that can be run in three different modes of operation. One is a show me mode, in which the trainee is being showed exactly what to do. Second is interactive mode, in which the trainee interacts with the model and follow the steps. And the third one is a step mode, in which the trainee need to show his capability to run it by itself. And this is everything is done without supporting the trainee. So the trainee can do it in his own time in a self-paced mode. Everything is backed up with a real-time data collection. The selections that trainee did, the first time hits that he did on a training mode, wrong selections, and the duration it took him all over. We completed this. I'll just show you, run it once more. We completed this tutorial and this procedure in a very, very short time, and be able to supply the Singapore Airlines with a full solution within a couple of weeks. All right. With that, I would like to to conclude and thank very much to the Starburst team to help us in running this initiative, and for sure for the Singapore airline. People were very, very cooperative and helped us to guide us to the right solution that needed them. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Gilad. Do we have any questions from our participants here? If not, I think we have a question on Zoom from Yogesh. Gilad, can you elaborate what inputs are required to ensure accuracy and compliance with the engine manual?
Yeah, so in order to create digital twin, there are two different ways to be done. The easiest way to do is to get CAD files. If not, we can create it out of images and pictures. And the second input we need to get is to get the procedure by the provider who will tell us exactly what are the steps, and from there we can create the full solution.
Okay, thanks, Gilad. This last call for any other questions for LS and Frontline. Do you have, okay, I think there's an additional question from Yogesh, Gilad. Does it create any IP infringement issues?
No, we are either getting the material from the provider or using public material. There is no IP infringement.
Okay, we have another question from Samson. Will the instructor be able to view real-time the behavior or perspective of the trainee?
Yes, the instructor is able to view in real time exactly what the trainee did and follow all his steps.
Okay, thanks, Gilad. I think we will move to the next startup for this presentation.
Thank you, Sheila, and thank you all.
Next, we have Artificial Intelligence presenting their solution to LLM's use case on calculation of potential fuel savings and reduction of carbon emissions for continuous descent order into Singapore. This solution is also in line with the green aviation and sustainability initiatives championed by Singapore and the aviation industry. We have Johannes from Artificial Intelligence to share with us today. Johannes, please share your screen and turn on the video.
Thank you, Sheila. Please just let me know when you see the screen.
Yes, you can see the screen.
Optimal, thank you. So hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Johannes, one of the 3 founders of Artificial Intelligence. We are the company for efficiency in the air transport sector, helping ANSPs to increase runway throughput and monitor procedures to increase operational efficiency. We are also helping airports to enhance capacity and better utilize the airside infrastructure. As a third client, we also help airlines to reduce emissions, related costs, and track improvement. We are founded and based in Austria with an efficient team consisting of aeronautical engineers and software experts. We're very dedicated to establish the performance cockpit as the leading air traffic optimization and analytics solution in the market. The performance cockpit itself is already in full operations with one of the leading ANSPs in the world, the Qatar Civil Aviation Authority. Artificial is a privately owned company and is continuously growing its market share. If you feel to join us on this journey, you're kindly invited to get in contact with us on investment or partnership. So now continuing with the big picture around the problem statement that we tackled for the past 13 weeks during the Singapore Aviation Acceleration program. So imagine a tool that measures potential CO2 emission savings for each single aircraft for an optimized approach to Changi Airport. Imagine a tool that creates awareness to assist controllers to determine flights that further save emissions during approach. Imagine a tool that helps the Singapore airspace to leverage green aviation to support Singapore's effort in combating climate change. So during the Singapore Acceleration Program, the team of air officials, closely mentored by the LAB team, worked out a solution to measure CO2 emissions saving potential for each flight so that more continuous descent approaches can be operated in the whole airspace. The focus there has been on a global view on the whole system and not on specific operators or aircraft types. But what is actually a CDO? It is a descent profile that starts from top of descent continuously without major level of segments in between. So the green line here shows the emission optimized CDA approach. Performing a CDA leads to almost 1.5 tons of average CO2 savings for each flight into Changi Airport. But how did we measure CO2 emissions for each approach and build the CO2 emission model and make it as robust as possible? Of course, with the right data sources and the right intelligence. Therefore, we have integrated the AirLab open APIs for flight plans and for surveillance data and engineered the detail with information from data sources like Eurocontrol data and important technical information like fuel flow, thrust setting, aircraft configuration, load factor, aircraft type, just to name a few. So thanks to the weekly interaction with experts from the LAB team, the emission model had been successfully engineered. So the model itself is there, but what use cases can be derived in reality? Knowing and measuring emissions is key for improvement. Therefore, emission indicators had been established for each flight approaching Changi Airport. As a second point, creating awareness to focus on those flights with the highest emission saving potential. Even decreasing workload of controllers is very important. And third, tracking the progress of CO2 savings over time to track those achievements. And how could this look like in practice? So giving a simple scenario, 3 flights are en route to Changi Airport at the very same point in time. Unfortunately, not all 3 aircraft in this case can fly a CDA at the same time, and therefore the air traffic controller has to prioritize which of the approaching aircraft to be considered for an optimized approach profile in order to save emissions. But which of the aircraft has the biggest saving potential? Is it the A320, the A350, or the Boeing 777? So by running data through our CO2 emission model, the controller can be informed about the emission potentials per flight, recommending the Boeing 777 with nearly 2 tons of CO2 savings for an optimized approach profile. The CO2 emission model is already running in the performance cockpit of Aeroofficial Intelligence, showing all emission results in simple dashboards and reports, helping Singapore's effort in combating climate change. And with this sentence, I would like to thank you for your attention, and I'm now open for any questions. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Johannes. Now we'd like to move to the Q&A section. Is there any questions that we have? We also do not see any questions from the Zoom Q&A function. Yeah, question. We have a question from Nino on how many clients do you have so far?
Please repeat the question.
How many clients does Aeroofficial Intelligence have currently?
Thank you. Yes, we are already, as I said, in full operations at the airport in Doha with the ANSP there, with the QCIA. In total, we are active full operations with 3 clients.
Thanks, Johannes. I think we have another question from Tommy. Is this SW to measure CDA for airport?
Could you please repeat the first part?
Is this used to measure CDA for the airport?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's a software to measure CDOs, the emission potential. So first of all, I need to consider what was actually the objective of the whole challenge. So basically, our system is measuring for each flight that is flying into Changi Airport, what could be the emission saving potential for each flight. Of course, in this scenario, we look at the ANSP for the air traffic controller to create awareness which of the aircraft could be considered for an optimized approach. And overall, it's for the whole system. It's a global view to save emissions for the whole airport system. And of course, there are many stakeholders that have a big benefit based on that. And this is what our solution does. It measures the saving potentials, the potential for each aircraft movement into the airport in order to reduce CO2 emissions.
I think we have another question from Ray. Usually the deviation of the optimal profile is caused by the traffic situation. How do you address to assist the ATC in solving separation problems?
Oh, thank you for this question. Yeah, this is a very important question, I think, because as you mentioned, separation also plays a major role. We're working also a lot on runway throughput, runway capacity topics, also include separation-based topics, time-based, distance-based. We also consider the standard arrival routes for the approaching aircraft. So our system, what it does, the performance cockpit, is really analyzing the flight for the whole approach and considering a lot of these measurements and take it into consideration. For the CDA approach, as you saw before, there are a lot of areas and a lot of data that are also considered in the model. It's not just the aircraft type, it's a lot more, and we also consider different points here. But again, this challenge was about measuring CO2 emission potential and create awareness. The next step could be to also include it for a decision-making tool, but this was not part of the challenge.
Thanks, Johannes. I think we have one last question from Janice. Could the performance cockpit be used to identify systematic changes that could be made to improve overall performance and to enable more CDO consistently?
Yeah, thanks. So first of all, it's always important to measure. What you can't measure, you can't improve. And therefore, we actually also measure the CDA share and the overall airspace improvement. So in this case, it's also very important to take all stakeholders into account. And you saw before, we're working together with ANSPs, with airports and the airlines, because all parts play an important role in order to save more fuel in the end and to optimize the system further. And I think this is exactly what our tool also does. It tracks the performance, the CDA shares, the actual savings that had been achieved over time, and also shows this information among stakeholders, which is very important in the process to become even better.
Okay, thanks, Johannes. I think now we'll have to move to the next startup. Next, we have Tomorrow.io and Skyscraper presenting their solution to Alap's use case on leveraging big data to improve the forecast of convection weather within the local area. Starburst has put together two startups which have jointly come up with a weather forecasting model using localized as data. We have Phil from Tomorrow.io joining us here today, and Julian from Skyspeaker joining us virtually via Zoom. Julian, please turn on your video, and Phil, please share your slides.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for having us here this afternoon. I just want to firstly thank Julius for arranging such a wonderful program, the corporate sponsors for being involved, and a special thanks to our mentor as well from AirLab. It's been a fantastic program. So for this afternoon's agenda, we'll just take you through what we've been doing here. So basically, we're addressing the problem statement, and we're aggregating metadata, modeling that data for the avoidance of delays in and around you. And so for the agenda this afternoon, we'll go through just some brief introductions. We'll talk about our capabilities so you can understand how we can address this problem statement. We'll talk just briefly on our client references so you get an understanding of how we've done this before. And then we'll really go into that problem statement for you, so how we'll be resolving that. And then we'll open up for questions at the end. So without further ado, just a really brief introduction to the team that's been involved in this accelerated program, been working on this. You can see myself, Phil, based in Singapore for almost 8 years, the Managing Director, Nadav, and then Omar, our Solution Engineer, who is a pilot himself. And then from our consortium or partner, we've got Skyspeaker, so Julian and Rui. So Julian being a pilot, and Rui being an air traffic controller. So depth of experience working on this, guided by it. And so it's 2 teams, but yet 1 solution. And so from the Tomorrow I/O side, we're aggregating that data, we're using that data then to provide a forecast, and then we're providing that in a meaningful manner to those stakeholders using that information. And then for Skyspeaker, they're able to actually obtain the MODES data from the aircrafts in and around the airspace there. Then they're able to calculate that data, what is the metadata from that MODES, and provide that in a database so we can access that for our forecasting. So really exciting and really great collaboration there to resolve that problem statement. So just really briefly, because I know Sheila instructed people want to understand a little bit more about the startups working on this. So you can see our core capability is really around big weather data sets, then leveraging high-powered computing with our own proprietary modeling to forecast out into the future, and then really importantly, making that easy to understand and digest. And you can see there we have global offices, Series D funding up to $190 million, and some key aviation clients that we're working with. Skyspeaker, they're the specialists in aviation surveillance. So based out of Germany, and are able to actually retrieve and decode that MODES data. So they'll share a little bit about their capabilities shortly. So in terms of our capabilities Tomorrow I/O, and why there is a nice fit to this problem statement. So the first thing is about being able to obtain large sets of atmospheric data, and so including that MODES data, and we have the ability to ingest other forms of data from local Met offices, and also proprietary ability there. We then have our own proprietary models to forecast out into the future, so to understand the weather impact on flights in a certain time horizon, and then it's really insights. So rather than just saying, what is it? Is it a storm? What impact to a specific type of aircraft? So really, narrowing it down and making it really impactful there, which has an impact on both the operations and revenue. And you can see here, I'll show this a little bit later, but this is how we surface up that data. So in a really easy way to interpret. So an insights dashboard by location, by job function, an interactive map so you can understand weather, and then also weather impacts many stakeholders in an airport. So really having technology to automate the decision-making and communications adds a huge amount of value to a very complex supply chain in and around an airport. And we know that you're looking for partners, so it's not just what we're doing now, it's also what we're doing into the future. So we are truly committed to the weather industry, so much so that we've launched our own space initiative to get direct sensing radar satellites to give us global coverage and to resolve some of the challenges that are facing in the weather industry, as we know. So I'll just briefly pass it over to Julian just to touch on SkySquitter's capabilities and some of their client references.
Yeah, thank you very much, Phil. And hello, everyone. My name is Julian, co-founder of SkySquitter, and we'll just give a brief overview about our contribution to this project here. SkySquitter is providing a completely new meteorological data source. So we are calculating wind, temperature, barometric pressure, and also turbulence information out of Mode S transponder data. So basically, we're using thousands of aircraft traveling above our heads every day as sensors, but without the need of any additional onboard equipment and without any environmental impact. This gives us precise information about the present weather in the airspace, and also real-time information about the ground truth. So the actual meteorological situation at the position of the observed aircraft. Moving on to the next slide. There we can see just a simple visualization of our work from the last weeks during the program. We took the radar data stream provided by AirLab to us and implemented it to our systems, and we can see some wind readings as well as temperature readings here in the vicinity of Singapore. Of course, this is an MVP, it's simulated data, but we expect it to be live further down this year. Because it's an MVP, I attached a small picture on the top left corner where you can see actual real data from our operational network in Europe. This is real data and contains all the information I was talking about prior to the slide. And this data can then be fed into existing systems, for example, weather services like Tomorrow.io in our case. And it can also be used in the context of aircraft operators as well as air navigation service providers to gain efficiency. So moving on in the agenda, we got some information about our client references. So on behalf of SkySquitter, we are active right now at the German and the European market. We work together with, for example, this Swiss military, as well as some air traffic management consulting agencies and also air traffic control hardware suppliers. On top of that, SkySquitter is still active in several research projects and programs within the technical universities of Germany. Thank you very much. I give it back to Phil.
So for Tomorrow.io, I've selected a couple of the aviation customers that we work with. So firstly, JetBlue. So we really helped them. They looked at storms and then other weather parameters that were impacting their operations there. And really looking at those operations that were impacted by weather, how they needed to make decisions around that. And there were specific ones around high winds, opening and operating of the ramps, and then also because of the windy conditions there, understanding the de-icing protocols there. And we were able to save them by driving efficiency of up to $50,000 per site per month. And then Aeromexico, a little bit more closer to this type of weather situation here. We're able to help them by providing them weather across their network and our technology. And in doing so, we're able to drive a 50% reduction in delays. And what that meant, that was a very fast payback for them, faster than actually pre-COVID times that we would have anticipated. So really powerful there. And then on top of that, there was other use cases. They could understand their load balancing based on barometric pressure and so forth. So very powerful use cases there. And so then just going on to recap on the problem statement here. So for us, leveraging big data and then aggregating trusted sources of data to then really drive efficiency and minimize delays around Changi or flights coming into Changi. And we understood the importance of this because we know that weather plays an impact in over 25% of the plane aircraft delays. And of that, just slightly more than 25%, a third of those are derived or caused by thunderstorms. So that's why in this program, through the mentorship, we've been very focused on that. And so to solve this problem, what we did, we looked at our existing suite of products. So how could we enrich that with data from our partner in this, SkySquitter, providing us direct observations from aircrafts around that area there. Then looking at our current models, and then also enriching that with other data sources. And so we have a real-time forecast. We have where SkySquitter data can be fed into. Then we now cast that out into the future. So minute by 3 hours. So that would be really powerful in that first part of that problem statement definition there. And then we also have our own numerical weather prediction model. Once again, where we can feed in those observations from SkySquitter, and we can provide a very high resolution, both temporal and spatial, to overcome some of those challenges in terms of convective weather in this particular region. And then a prototype product that we have patents on that we can build out, and specifically looking at the movement of storm cells, which once again is looking at that sort of slightly longer time horizon to solve this particular problem statement. And so then lastly, how this can be used in the environment out there in Changi. So we see it, firstly, the pilots, because that's what we were focused on for this problem statement. So they can quickly understand what is the weather in Changi at the time that they intend to land there. So they can really understand the weather and they can do their planning around that. They can also then use it for real-time decision-making on route, looking at safety, and then also customer experience. But there's other stakeholders in that environment that can leverage this data as well. So you can look at the dispatchers, so understanding the weather there and making decisions accordingly. And then also the airport, very complex operations there, many stakeholders in there, many functions. So having information plus automation technology drives a lot of efficiency. So I realize we're close on time. I do have a demonstration video that I can share afterwards, but I'm more than happy to open it out to questions now. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Phil. Maybe any questions from the floor over here? I think on Zoom, we don't have any questions at the moment. All right, so if there's any question, okay.
Curious, you have a global climate model which you use for your weather model, right? And then you mentioned you have a numerical model. So is that a regional climate model or is it a downscale?
So we have access to global models, proprietary models that we do downscale. And then as part of this accelerator, our mentor has been helping us to connect with the NEA, and they have a regional model. So with a potential private corporate partnership, we could ingest that model. So our technology has been built on the capacity to bring in more and more observations and models to give a more accurate forecast.
I think we have a question from Tony. He's asking which weather model do you use?
So we have a combination of models that we have. So we have our own proprietary real-time model. We have our own proprietary nowcasting, which is in that short-term horizon. We have our own numerical weather prediction model, which we use on a specific domain. And then we use an ensemble approach for global modeling out to a little bit longer.
Okay, thanks, Phil. I think with that, we'll move to the next startup. Thanks, Julian, as well.
Thank you.
Next, we would like to have Veracity Protocol, which is an AI security company with applications for the aerospace sector, especially for MRO use cases. Veracity Protocol uses computer vision to secure the identity of physical products, serving as the missing link between physical assets and the digital records. We have Jacob from Veracity Protocol with us today. Please share your screen and turn on your video.
Okay, hello everyone. Pleasure to be here. Let me share my screen. Okay. Let me know if everyone can see.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Perfect. So first of all, my name is Jakub Pečmar. I'm the CEO and co-founder at Veracity Protocol. We are an AI security company focusing on building protocol of trust for physical objects to protect not only customers, but also brands and national security. Our company is US-based with experienced founders from Czech Republic. It's 4 years old and with a team of 25 people. we've raised so far over $3 million in total. The problem we are focusing on is traceability. We see it's very hard to secure identity, authenticity, and integrity of products, parts, items, basically anything in various industries, including aerospace and defense, because we see current solutions like barcodes, serialization text, chips, RFIDs, NFCs can be all removed, cloned, tampered with, and there's no good solution to connect physical objects itself to any digital twin or database, or to ensure they hasn't been manipulated or tampered with. The solution we've developed is for microstructure-based traceability. What it means is we basically have a solution that enables any camera, be it a smartphone camera or industrial camera, to take a picture of object. It can be a part, a component, a product, a packaging, a label, a tag, seal, basically anything, and be able to tell its identity, if it's authentic, if it hasn't been tampered with, without relying on any tags, chips, markers, without adding anything on the surface, without any changes in the manufacturing. The way it works is simple. Basically, every physical object has a unique material structure and manufacturing characteristics. So if you take, for example, a metal gear from one of our automotive use cases, it has certain imperfections on the surface, and there is a certain signature of the manufacturing. So same as a human fingerprint or a ballistic test, we can use computer vision and machine learning models to be able to identify the gear or tell if it's generally authentic and connect it to any business application, to digital twins, to secure the supply chain visibility, transparency, identification, authentication, anywhere in the supply chain, all the way down to end consumer with a smartphone. There's basically two ways how it works. One is at a unit level. So each individual component or item product would be taken picture of. And later on, you can use industrial camera or smartphone to be able to tell, oh, this is item number 1,075,000, and this is its true history. Or a batch physical code, which based on a few dozens of samples would create a trained algorithm, which is generally able to tell you this is the authentic part of this specific batch or SKU or manufacturer. Our service is software as a service. We bring trust through three key services. Offering this through APIs and SDKs, apps on both platforms that can be white labeled, and GPU architecture and cloud-based infrastructure, including local deployments. Now, two examples of usage. So for the first service, non-invasive identification. So this is basically allowing you to identify and trace products without the need for serial number, barcode, or tag. So this is a new type of solution. This goes beyond shapes and colors, unlike object recognition. And it's a possibly future identity standard to secure automation. Let me show you a quick video. Staying with the metal gears as an example. Here we have two identical metal gears. The goal here is to be able to identify them for lifecycle management purposes, to know, for example, how long it has been used and if it needs to be replaced. You need to know its exact ID and history. The way it's working is that we are looking at the unique microstructure anomalies to identify it. And this is a simple demonstration with a camera setup. So there's two cameras used, but it can be just one. And this can be fully automated in the manufacturing line, where basically each item, as they are manufactured, would get registered. The registration happens instantly, and it's invariant to positioning. And later on, the goal is that if you take from hundreds of thousands some part, you need to be able to identify it correctly. As you can see here, identification would be happening instantly. Of course, what's more important, that this does not work on perfect items and in perfect conditions. Our solution is not only hardware agnostic, we can work in various conditions with various cameras, but also agnostic to damage. So we did even some, as part of the pilot testing, damages here. We were applying heat and destroying the surface, and even with up to 80% of the surface destroyed, the solution still works with near 100% accuracy as per the test results. So that's very quickly demo on the non-invasive identification. The second approach and solution is microstructure authentication. So this is more smartphone focused to enable in-field verification of authenticity or tampering, or check on any tampering. Again, a quick demonstration on the smartphone. The goal is basically you take a smartphone, you click verify an object. We have augmented reality, which guides you to a specific point of interest to take picture of. This could be one or many or the whole surface area. And here, no matter what the barcode says or what the tag would say, it would be able to tell you by looking through computer vision the manufacturing characteristics, if this is in general authentic product or not, or what batch it's part of. So as you can see, this is happening cloud-based, but can also happen on device instantly. And second quick example, this can also work for any tags and seals. Here, example of very small text, 1 centimeter, where we can instantly verify it by the phone using just the signature of the printer it was printed with. So as you can see, this one using the same design and same paper and comes not verified only because it was printed on different printer. So that's a level of detail we can work with here. And I'll get to the possible applications in a bit. And lastly, multifunctional optical inspection, where, for example, with Intel, we have a solution to detect any anomalies and tampering on populated PCBs on server motherboards to, for example, see if a server motherboard has been tampered with and someone put in a spy chip to provide a root access. So to end with, some aerospace and defense applications we see as a company which would love to expand more in the industry. First, non-invasive identification and tracking of mission critical components for supply chain visibility and lifecycle management, like what we do in automotive. Second, authentication of seals for sensitive air cargo. So this could be done, for example, by smartphone and instantly know the seal is authentic and hasn't been tampered with, protecting whatever is inside the container. Third, authentication of components to detect not only counterfeits, but also unapproved parts, sometimes parts that look the same but are not make their way in and cause issues. So it's something we can be solving. And lastly, detect any tampering or damage on populated PCBs, for example, for critical electronics in aviation to detect on incoming inspection or when repaired that there hasn't been any tampering or damage on it. And that would be, in a nutshell, presentation of the company solution. I would love to leave some time for Q&A. So over to your questions. Thank you.
Is there any questions that we have from our audience? I think on Zoom currently we also do not have any questions at the moment. So with that, probably we'll move on to the next presentation. Thanks, Akut, for joining us today.
Okay, thank you.
Last but not least, we have Zero Avia, one of our Starburst portfolio company as well, to share about green aviation and sustainability. Zero Avia is enabling practical true zero emission air travel at scale, starting with 500-mile short-haul trips at half of today's cost. We have Val from Zero Avia joining us today. Val, please share your screen and turn on the video.
Hi everybody, this is Val Meftakov, CEO and founder of Zero Avia. And as just mentioned, we think that we have the first practical zero-emission aviation powertrain for commercial aviation. Started a company about 3.5 years ago with a vision of repowering commercial aviation with our new technology, replacing the fuel, replacing the power plants in the existing aircraft types. And then later on, new clean sheet aircraft designs that we're already working on with a couple of manufacturers. Why we're doing it, this is familiar to a lot of you, hopefully, that we have a sustainability crisis in aviation. This is a huge market, as everybody knows, $1.5 trillion pre-pandemic, but also it has an increasing environmental impact. If you look at the climate impact today, you're looking at about between 5 and 10% of the total human climate impact. Half of that is the CO2 base, which everybody tends to talk about, but another half is the non-CO2 effects from things like contrail formation, cirrus cloud formation, nitrogen oxide emissions, particulate emissions, triggering various things. While 5 to 10% may not seem like a huge number, if you look at the growth rates that aviation market enjoys, again, pre-pandemic, but we're going to get back to it, you see that business as usual would get us into a situation where, while every other industry is decarbonizing, is getting cleaner, you can get to a point, there's a nightmare scenario when you can have 25 to 50% of all climate impact, human climate impact, come from aviation in 2050. And now 2050 is when everybody wants to become zero emission. You have the whole country is going zero emission. You have various airlines announcing that they want to go net zero. They want to go zero emission. And this becomes really, really hard problem because the useful life of commercial aircraft is exactly these 30 years between now and 2050. So if you're an operator and you're buying aircraft today, you're locking in some of that emission profile for as long as 30 years. So combined with the fact that there is no real, truly scalable solution today, we have a real problem that we need to solve yesterday. So that's why we started the company 3.5 years ago. We looked at a number of different solutions, how we would want to solve the problem. And we decided and determined from the first principles that a combination of hydrogen as storage of energy on board the aircraft and hydrogen electric powertrain is the best combination that combines the superior specific energy of hydrogen. In fact, 3 times better than jet fuel on a per kilogram basis of fuel, combines that with superior efficiency of the fuel cell based approach or hydrogen electric power plant approach. Even the smallest power plants that we already fly, by the way, today, we'll talk more about that. Even the smallest power plant is more than 50% efficient in converting that chemical energy from hydrogen into propulsion versus a small turbine that would be 22, 25% efficient, and a medium-sized turbine that you see on the picture here on the right side, sort of powering 50 to 70 seat planes, is maybe about 25, 30% efficient. So you have double the efficiency, triple the specific energy. So that gives you an idea of how good that combination is. So we think with that combination, we can drive not only zero emission, but also over time, lower costs and long range. Long range I already explained through the specific energy and efficiency. Lower costs, when you think about how you're going to create all that fuel, we think that the most economic way to do it is to have on-site production of hydrogen at the airports from local renewable power. That way, you have very inexpensive energy, clean energy, very inexpensive energy. The trending line for the cost of renewable energy is pretty much trending to zero, even on a fully levelized basis. And then you take that energy and on site, you convert it into fuel. So you avoid transportation of fuel, which historically has been one of the big problems with hydrogen in transportation. Also, at airports, you have extreme concentration of energy demands, because aviation, as we all know, is very, very energy intensive business. So you have the demand scale that immediately allows you to support on-site production economically. So we think that combination is the winning combination. We built as a company, most of our technology development is in power plants, but we also bring in the infrastructure angle into equation. So the way we sell to the operators is on a power by the hour basis, and that includes fuel as part of our business model. And with that model, we're able to deliver savings, operating savings relative to fossil fuel aircraft, initially small aircraft and then going to larger ones. So speaking of the sizes, in terms of the segments, we think that over time, we can repower all segments of aviation. Of course, it gets a little bit trickier towards the right side of this chart, but we think we know how to deal with the first two segments that are shown on the picture. Our first commercial offering is 10 to 20 seat aircraft, or rather power plants that would go into 10 to 20 seat aircraft in about 3 years. We think we can deliver about 500 miles of range, zero emission range for that aircraft. The next segment is a more traditional full-size regional turboprop, 50 to 80 seat in size in about 5 years. And we think by the end of the decade, we can get to the single aisle level. We're not just talking about it. On the bottom here, some results from our R&D program. We built, to date, we built 2 prototypes of our solutions, flying prototypes, first one in the US back in 2019. And then we won some major grants in the UK. We are supported by the UK government and the Aerospace Technology Institute here that done a lot of technical due diligence on us as well, and awarded us so far 4 projects in the United Kingdom. And you see on the picture here, first prototype and then second prototype, blue aircraft. These are 6-seat prototypes that we're flying today. We also built here at Cranfield, where I'm at right now, actually in the UK, we built the world's first on-site fuel production, storage, and refueling facility that is used for primary aircraft propulsion. So the picture is a little bit small, but you can see the solar panels, electrolysis, fuel truck that we built with a partner, and our plane and some ground vehicles that Toyota provided for us for the multimodal transportation demonstration at the airport. And now we have already started work on a 20-seat vehicle that is exactly the model that you see on the left here, Dornier 228, 19-passenger, 20-seat. We're going to fly it on hydrogen power later this year. This was our one of the latest milestones last year, September 24th. We flew our hydrogen powered aircraft for the first time in the UK. This became the world's largest hydrogen electric aircraft. Great resonance across the world. A lot of interesting partnerships came out of that, and of course our participation in the Jet Zero Council, which is the government and industry body put together by Boris Johnson's cabinet with the objective to bring in zero emission 100-seat jet by 2030. We're the only startup, aviation startup out of aviation companies, aerospace companies on that council, sitting there alongside with the CEO of Rolls-Royce, Airbus, GKN, and Meggitt, major tier 1 suppliers. So a really good recognition of the company in the UK and globally. And lastly, we're supported by top investors and partners. Of course, part of Starburst Accelerator. Really appreciate the support and mentorship. And then in Q4 last year, we've raised our first large round of funding from Breakthrough Energy Ventures, which is supported by Bill Gates, Amazon Climate Pledge Fund, Horizons Ventures, Shell Ventures, and Sumo Equity. We have also partnered with British Airways in Q4 last year, and now we have also announced about 3 weeks ago British Airways becoming one of the investors in the company with the new round, 24 million to kick off the large engine development. So now we have 2 programs power plant programs that we have funded. One is the 600 kilowatt program going to 10 to 20 seat aircraft, and the large engine development program, which is going at about 2 megawatts per shaft, going into the full-size turboprop. And I'll stop here for questions.
Thanks, Val. I think we have two questions from Paul. The first, I think it's a two-part question. The first is, how do we accelerate two things? First, regulator approval of hydrogen hybrid, and second, storage in liquid hydrogen, which is more energy dense.
Yes, thank you, Paul. Really good questions. So regulatory approval is, of course, very important, regulated industry. We've been working with the regulators, both on the FAA side and the CAA side, Civil Aviation Authority in the UK, for a while now. Civil Aviation Authority in the UK is actually a formal part of our project, the 20-seater project with the UK government. So we're getting quite good support from the Civil Aviation Authority here. And what we are going after is, as a certification basis here, is the power plant certification part 33. Special conditions, of course, for this new type of power plant. But conceptually, we are asking the regulators to think about it as they would think about normal power plant, where you have chemical fuel coming in and rotation of the shaft on the other end, and all the tests that need to be done, for example, for turbine engines or for piston engines. That would be the certification basis here. The second part of the question on the storage and liquid hydrogen, yes, more energy dense, of course, in terms of both actually on the per kilogram specific energy of the fuel system, because for compressed gas, which is our first storage method for the first segment, for compressed hydrogen, you have a rather heavy tanks. So your specific energy at the fuel system level is lower than would be for liquid hydrogen. Still much, much greater than for batteries, but lower than for liquid hydrogen. So liquid hydrogen is definitely a future approach, and definitely something that we would go for the larger aircraft, like full-size turboprop aircraft. But it also is harder technically. It's harder to certify. There are more failure points, failure modes that you need to mitigate and figure out. So we feel that for the first market entry for 10 to 20 seat aircraft, compressed gas is both adequate and fast to certify. And we focus on the cryogenic liquid hydrogen for the next segment.
Thanks, Val. I think we have a few more questions, maybe just to pick out one on the infrastructure side. How do you advise on the airport infrastructural implications for hydrogen-fueled aircraft in terms of production, transportation, and storage of hydrogen fuel?
Absolutely. Yeah, so I think, as I mentioned in brief, I think the right approach here is to generate, create fuel on site from electricity that would be pumped into the airports. And it's much easier to sort of pump in electricity than any other type of fuel, really, and then create hydrogen on site, which avoids transportation of this relatively bulky fuel. This also gives airports an interesting economic handle on the fuel supply, because then they have more control over how fuel is produced, how fuel is stored and distributed. And actually, in our conversations with airports that we've had, over 10 airport conversations already, they are very, very interested in that model.
Thanks, Val. I think we have a few more questions, but I think in view of time, we may answer that offline. So thanks for joining us today at this session.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think this comes to the end of the presentation by the startups. We would like to thank all the startups and corporate partners for your hard work during this 13 weeks program. Starburst will continue to support all our startups and corporate partners on this innovation journey and move towards commercialization and implementation. With this, I would like to invite Francois, founder and CEO of Starburst, to give his closing remarks.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. All the ones that are currently in our office in Singapore, all the startups across the world in our US, Europe, and Asia. I'm always amazed by these pitch, these founders, all the ideas they're coming with the technology they're bringing to the table, and all of this to improve the way we travel, improve the aviation industry, passenger experience. It's really amazing, and especially when I listen to Val and Ziravia, the combination of such an amazing visions with an incredible execution. So I wanted to personally congratulate all the startups for their amazing jobs. Of course, I want to thank our partners, Enterprise Singapore, our relationship with Singapore, started 5 or 6 years ago, and has been great. And I want to thank especially Enterprise Singapore for the bold decision. Of course, we are talking about building that program together for a long time, but being able to launch it was August last year in the middle of the pandemic, where nothing could be done in person. Was pretty bold, having of course the support of Singapore Airline, SATS, the ground handling company, CAAS, and Thales through the Air Lab, was also critical, and yeah, and basically very supportive. I also want to thank the team on the ground, Julius, Sheila, Jonathan, and the others, to have been able to put and set up that program mostly online during these conditions, adapting to every type of situations, every request. So yeah, I like that. I really enjoyed these last 2 hours. I'm proud of all the work that have been achieved. We are fully committed to make Singapore not only the aviation's hub and market leader that they are already between Singapore Airlines, SATS, and Changi Airport, but really bringing that aviation industry in Singapore into the future and helping them to not just become, but stay ahead of the competitions, set the future, set the visions, and of course, Starburst is here to support. So we are really looking forward to our second cohort of startups. I'm 100% sure we'll bring even more corporate partners, talking about connectivity, still passenger experience, and a few other things. The aviation industry is going through a major transformation that is led by these new disruptive innovations. And so we will soon call for the second cohort, second call for proposal, second problem statement that we want to solve with our friends in Singapore from the aviation industry. And so be ready for that. Program will probably start next October, November, and demo day will be for sure at the Singapore Air Show next February. So again, Enterprise Singapore, Shuming, my good friends. Sorry not being there with you today and with the Starburst team, but I'm really with you with my heart, and looking forward to the second cohort, and that's demo day during the Singapore Air Show. Thank you very much. Thank you, Julius, and thank you, Sheila, for emceeing that amazing event.
Thanks, Francois. I think with this, we'd like to end the session for today. Thanks everyone for joining us here at the physical event as well as virtually on Zoom. Feel free to drop us a note if you'd like to find out more about Starburst, the Singapore Aviation Accelerator, or any of the startups that is in our program. You can also check our website and LinkedIn page for further updates on our future activities. Thank you.